Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The blade didn't shimmer, it devoured the light. Black steel, cold as the void between stars, pressed firmly against the pulse fluttering frantically in my throat. I couldn't breathe, not because of the razor-sharp edge threatening to spill my lifeblood onto the pristine marble floor, but because of the eyes staring back at me. Eyes I used to count stars in, eyes that now burned with a murderous, icy violet light. "Give me one reason," the man whispered, his voice a velvet rasp that sent a shiver of terrified recognition down my spine. "Why I shouldn't sever this pretty head from your neck right now, Saint." The raid had been a disaster. The sanctuary, the holy order of hunters I had served faithfully for 6 years, had promised us that the Eclipse faction's stronghold was empty. They lied. We had walked straight into the maw of the beast, and now my squad was scattered, dead, or worse. And I, Julian Vane, the sanctuary's most prized high priest, was on my knees before the devil himself. But the devil wore the face of my childhood. Kalen, I choked out, the name tasting like ash and old memories. The pressure on my throat increased. A bead of blood welled up, hot and stinging. "That name belongs to a ghost," he hissed, leaning closer. His scent invaded my senses. Ozone, expensive leather, and the metallic tang of blood. It was intoxicating and terrifying in equal measure. "I am Lord Draven, and you are trespassing in my kingdom." To understand how I ended up with a sword to my throat held by the man who was once my entire world, you have to understand who we were. Before the magic awakened, before the divide between the light and the dark factions shattered society, we were just Julian and Kalen. 2 orphans in the gutters of Sector 4, stealing bread to survive and huddling together for warmth under leaky tin roofs. He was the shield, I was the heart. He fought the bullies, I patched up his knuckles. We were best friends. That was the label the orphanage matrons used. That was the label we clung to. Even when we were 16 and the air between us grew thick with unspoken things, heavily charged with glances that lingered too long and touches that burned like branding irons. Then came the awakening. I manifested the light, rare, pure, healing energy. The sanctuary took me away in a gilded carriage. Kalen manifested the shadow, destructive, chaotic, forbidden. He was hunted. I was told he died in a purge. I mourned him for 6 years. I built a shrine in my heart and buried him there. I never expected the grave to open. "Get up, Kalen," Draven commanded, pulling the blade back mere inches. I scrambled to my feet, my white ceremonial robes stained with the grime of the battle. We were in the throne room of the Eclipse Fortress. It was a cavernous hall of black obsidian and silver veins, lit by floating orbs of violet fire. "My squad," I gasped, trying to regain some semblance of dignity. "Where are they?" "Safe. For now." "In the dungeons," Kalen said, sheathing his sword with a fluid, lethal grace. He turned his back to me, walking toward the dais. The sheer arrogance of the move made my blood boil. He knew I wouldn't attack him. He knew I couldn't hurt him. "Whether they survive the night depends entirely on you, Julian. What do you want?" I demanded, my hands glowing faintly with golden light, a defensive reflex. He spun around, his long black coat swirling like smoke. His face, sharper and harder than the boy I remembered, twisted into a cynical smirk. "I want you to heal me." I blinked, the magical aura around my hands flickering. "What?" "Don't look so surprised. The shadow consumes its wielder. It rots the veins from the inside out," Kalen said, unbuttoning his collar. He pulled the fabric aside, revealing his chest. I gasped. Black veins, like intricate, morbid tattoos, spiderwebbed across his pale skin, pulsing with a sickly rhythm. It was the mark of the abyss, a magical cancer. It was agonizing. It was fatal. "The sanctuary teaches that shadows are monsters," he said softly, walking back toward me until he was towering over me. The height difference was new. He had grown broad, dangerous. "But they don't teach you how much it hurts to be one. Fix it, Julian. Or your friends in the dungeon bleed." I can't just fix that," I stammered, my healer's instincts warring with my loyalty to the sanctuary. Helping a shadow lord was treason, punishable by death. That's deep corruption. It requires a soul link. Kalen's eyes darkened. He stepped into my personal space, his hand coming up to cup my jaw. His thumb brushed my lower lip, rough and callous. The touch sent a jolt of electricity straight to my core, bypassing all logic. "I know," he murmured, his voice dropping an octave, vibrating against my skin. "So you better get started. The process of a soul link is intimate. It was designed for bonded pairs, knights and their priests, husbands and wives. It requires not just magic, but an opening of the mind, a sharing of the self. To do this with an enemy was madness. To do this with Kalen was emotional suicide. He led me to his private quarters. It wasn't the dungeon I expected. It was a sprawling suite of velvet and mahogany, with a massive balcony overlooking the storm-ravaged city below. "Sit," he ordered, pointing to the edge of the massive bed. I sat, my hands trembling. He discarded his coat, then his shirt. His torso was a masterpiece of muscle and scars, marred only by the creeping black corruption. He sat behind me, his back to my chest, so I could place my hands over his heart and his spiritual core. "If you try to kill me while our minds are connected," Kalen said, his voice tight with anticipated pain, "the feedback will scramble your brain. We die together." "I'm not an assassin, Kalen," I whispered, placing my hands on his burning skin. "I'm a healer." "You're a sanctuary puppet," he corrected. "Just do it." I closed my eyes and pushed my golden light into him. Contact. The physical world fell away. I was plunged into the landscape of his soul. I expected a wasteland of cruelty and darkness, fitting for the lord of the Eclipse faction. Instead, I found a fortress. Walls of iron, spiked and defensive, guarding a tiny, flickering flame in the center. And everywhere were memories of me. I saw myself through his eyes. The way the sunlight hit my hair when we were 10. The way I laughed when we stole apples. The way I cried the day the sanctuary recruiters came. The memories were polished, cherished, kept safe from the consuming darkness of the shadow. He didn't hate me. The realization shattered my concentration. I gasped, my eyes flying open in the real world. Kalen groaned, lurching forward as the connection snapped. He grabbed my wrists, turning to pin me against the mattress. His eyes were wild, his breathing ragged. "Focus," he snarled, his face inches from mine. "You kept them," I breathed, staring up at him, ignoring the dangerous position I was in. "The memories. You still care." His expression shuddered. The walls slammed back up. "I keep them as a reminder of what weakness looks like." "Liar," I challenged him. For the first time in 6 years, I saw the crack in his armor. "You're in pain, Kalen. Not just the corruption. You're lonely." "Silence," he warned, his grip on my wrists tightening to the point of pain. "Why didn't you come for me?" I demanded, the old hurt bubbling up, mixing with the adrenaline. "If you survived, if you became this powerful, why did you leave me in the sanctuary thinking you were dead?" Kalen looked away, his jaw working. "Because it was safer." "Safer for who?" "You." He looked back, and the raw intensity of his gaze pinned me to the sheets more effectively than his hands. "For you, Julian. If the sanctuary knew what you were, what we are to each other, they wouldn't have made you a high priest. They would have made you a battery." I froze. "What? Why do you think I attacked your squad today?" Kalen hissed, leaning down, his body heavy and hot atop mine. "I didn't capture you to heal me. I captured you to get you out of there before the purification ritual next week." "The ritual? It's just a promotion ceremony," I argued, though a seed of doubt had been planted. The high priest before me had disappeared after his final ritual. "It's a sacrifice," Kalen spat. "They drain high priests to power the city's shield. I found the records. That's why I left, Julian. I had to get strong enough to destroy them before your turn came up." My world tilted on its axis. The sanctuary, my home, my saviors. Murderers? And Kalen, the villain, the monster. My protector? "I don't believe you," I whispered, though my heart was already pounding a different rhythm, one of hope. "Then look," Kalen commanded. He grabbed my hand and slammed it against his chest again. "Look deeper, past the memories. Look at the truth." He lowered his mental shields. It was an act of supreme trust, or supreme desperation. I dove back into his mind, bypassing the nostalgia, diving into the dark, jagged memories of his exile. I saw him starving in the wastelands. I saw him fighting demons with his bare hands. I saw him infiltrating the sanctuary's archives, bleeding and broken, reading the files on subject Julian Vane. I saw the order signed by the Grand Bishop, harvest upon 23rd birthday. My birthday was next week. I pulled back, gasping for air, tears streaming down my face. It was true. All of it. He had endured hell, embraced the darkness, and become a monster in the eyes of the world, all to build an army capable of saving me. Kalen, I sobbed, the name no longer tasting like ash, but like salvation. He was watching me, waiting for the rejection, waiting for the indoctrination to win. When he saw the tears, the tension left his frame. He collapsed, his forehead resting against my shoulder, his heavy weight pressing me into the mattress. I tried to hate you, he mumbled into the fabric of my robe. It would have been easier if I hated you. I freed my hands from his loose grip and wrapped them around him, my fingers tangling in his dark, sweaty hair. The best friends we once were felt like a lifetime ago. We were something else now. Something forged in fire and lies. You're an idiot, I whispered, channeling my light. This time, I didn't hold back. I poured my soul into him, golden light flooding the room, chasing the shadows from his veins. He groaned, a sound that was half pain, half pleasure, his hips bucking involuntarily against mine. The intimacy of the healing was overwhelming. I could feel his emotions as if they were my own. The relief, the longing, the burning desire that he had kept leashed for years. Julian, he grasped, lifting his head. His violet eyes were clear now, the murderous haze replaced by a hunger that terrified me in a completely different way. Stop. You'll drain yourself. Shut up, I said softly. You suffered for 6 years. I can handle a little fatigue. He stared at me, searching my face. Then, slowly, inevitably, he lowered his head. He paused a breath away from my lips, giving me the chance to push him away. We aren't friends anymore, he whispered. No. I agreed, my heart hammering against my ribs. We're not. He kissed me. It wasn't a gentle, fairy tale kiss. It was a collision. It was desperate, messy, and consuming. It tasted of iron and magic. He kissed me like a man starving, like he was trying to breathe me in and keep me there. I kissed him back with everything I had, mourning the lost years, celebrating the truth. His hands roamed my body, possessive and demanding, claiming what he had fought the world to protect. I arched into him, the golden light of my magic swirling around us, mixing with his violet shadows until the room was bathed in a twilight haze. For a moment, there was no war, no sanctuary, no eclipse, just Julian and Kalen, finally correcting the mistake of the universe that had kept them apart. The peace lasted exactly 1 hour. The alarm sirens shattered the silence. The room bathed in red emergency lights. Kalen was off the bed in a blur of motion, his sword in his hand before I could even sit up. They're here, he growled, his voice shifting instantly from lover to warlord. The sanctuary? I asked, scrambling to fix my robes. The Grand Bishop himself, Kalen said, walking to the balcony. He looked back at me, his expression grim. They tracked your magical signature. When you used your full power to heal me, you lit up their sensors like a beacon. I went cold. I had led them right to us. Kalen, Don't, he cut me off. He walked back to me, grabbing my face in his hands and kissing me hard, brief and fierce. This was the plan, Julian. Just a little earlier than I liked. What plan? War, he said, a terrifying grin spreading across his face. Stay here. If they want you, they have to go through me. And I've been waiting to kill Vane for a very long time. He turned to leave, but I grabbed his arm. The healer in me was gone. The best friend was gone. I'm not staying here, I said, my voice steady. I know their weaknesses. I know how the bishop's barriers work. Kalen looked at me, really looked at me. He didn't see the fragile boy from the orphanage anymore. He saw the high priest, the partner. It's treason, he reminded me. Once you step out that door fighting for the eclipse, there is no going back. You will be branded a heretic. A monster. Like me. I interlaced my fingers with his, my golden light flaring up to twine around his violet shadows. The contrast was beautiful. I never liked being a saint anyway, I said. Kalen squeezed my hand, his eyes shining with a fierce pride. Then let's go show them what happens when the light and the shadow stop fighting and start dancing. We burst out of the room, running down the obsidian corridors toward the sounds of explosions. The walls of the fortress shook as the sanctuary's artillery pounded the shields. We reached the courtyard. It was chaos. White-cloaked paladins were clashing with Kaelin's shadow-clad rogues. In the center of it all stood Bishop Vane, a man I had looked up to as a father, holding a staff of blinding white energy. "Julian," Vane bellowed, his voice amplified by magic. "Step away from the abomination. Come back to the light, and you may yet be cleansed." I looked at Vane. I saw the greed in his eyes. He didn't see a sun, he saw a battery. Then I looked at Kaelin. Blood on his cheek, sword in hand, standing between me and the entire world. I stepped forward, raising my hand. Vane smiled, thinking I was surrendering. Instead, I cast Aegis of the Fallen. It was a forbidden spell, one that inverted healing energy into a protective barrier for a single target. I cast it on Kaelin. A suit of golden, impenetrable armor materialized over his black coat. The shock on Vane's face was worth the treason. "I'm exactly where I belong," I shouted across the battlefield. Kaelin laughed, a dark, triumphant sound that rolled over the battlefield like thunder. He looked at me, his eyes glowing. "Ready, partner?" "Ready," I answered. And that is how the saint fell from grace, and how the monster found his heart. If you enjoyed seeing Julian finally shatter his chains to save the monster who loved him, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you be able to love someone who pretended to be your enemy for 10 years just to keep you safe? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then, prompt image. Prompt, masterpiece, best quality, high-res, 1.2. Korean manhwa style, semi-realistic, digital art, 2 men, BL, man 1. Kaelin, tall, muscular, sharp jawline, messy black hair, violet glowing eyes, wearing black military trench coat, holding black sword, protective stance. Man 2. Julian, shorter, slender, soft features, white hair, wearing tattered white ceremonial robes with gold trim, hands glowing with golden magic, standing back to back with man 1. Background is a chaotic battlefield. Courtyard, debris, magical explosions of gold and violet light, dramatic lighting, rain falling, emotional expression, cinematic composition, sharp focus, intricate details.